Hi everyone, Deb here with a couple of words about the channel healing class and I guess the mark training class as well. That while all of my classes teach external behaviors and use props in a way that make the right choice easy and the wrong choice hard, which keeps dogs' motivation level high and makes it easy for handlers to focus on good training mechanics, which in my opinion are the ways that we communicate to our dog what we want is through mechanics, so it's a form of communication. So there is the external component that you're going to get. Dog that clearly understands heel position, knows how to stay in heel position when on the longer outer path or the shorter inner path. And they'll learn how to make those tricky speed transitions from tight turns to gentle arcs to longer paths, shorter paths, all that stuff. You're going to get that. But what you're going to get in addition that I think is more important, at least it is to me, is a deeper connection with your dog through better training mechanics. And the way I see dog training is it's like a shared language if the communication is flowing equally in both directions. So I like to use props to minimize errors that help dogs make the right decision so that the handler can then reward the right decision. And I also like props that simplify things so that the handler has less to do, less to keep an eye on. So for instance, with the healing in channel healing class, that by putting the dog in a channel to start, and the class does evolve beyond that, that all the handler needs to do is to make sure the dog isn't foraging or lagging. Doesn't have to worry about the width between the handler and the dog or the space there. Doesn't have to worry about the dog's rear pivoting away so the dog is facing the handler. Just these two things. And I've developed some really specific techniques to help handlers reward the dog while the dog is thinking about the speed change necessary to stay in heel position. And there are lots of things that I stumbled upon while working out the details in this class. And there's nothing like developing a curriculum to make known a lot of things that are happening that you don't even realize are happening if you're an experienced trainer. So one such thing with my ever so slightly foraging border collie who tended to forage at about the same distance ahead, what I realized with him is that if I was giving him food while he was in heel position and my hand drifted forward even like an inch to where his mouth was, so if my hand is moving towards his mouth, he would respond to that forward motion and he would move forward. Now this is all barely noticeable in a video. I do have a video of it, but you'll barely notice that's what's happening. But basically what that ends up doing is rewarding a dog for transitioning out of heel position. So I developed a technique to keep myself from doing that, and the foraging stopped. The other thing I realized with my mini dog is that in order for her to see me, she needs to be a little bit further from me in heel position, just given the angle of her little face way down there and wanting to see my face. So allowing her a little bit of extra space there kept her more willing to be in heel position. And I think with a lot of small dogs, the reason they don't want to be so close to moving feet is they've been knocked around a few times or stepped on. So it kind of makes sense for that purpose too. But really this class and the use of channels is as beneficial for the handler as it is for the dog. So while the dogs are learning alignment and the handlers are able to reward their dog for not foraging, not lagging, for being in heel position, the handlers are also getting a lot of experience walking along a specific intended path. And the reason that's important is we human beings, we want to be successful. So if we want to go out there and practice healing with our dog, we are going to subconsciously alter our path if our dog is foraging or lagging. It's natural human behavior, and I noticed it in myself. But by having these different patterns that are created by the X-Pens, that the handler needs to maintain the same space between the X-Pen and herself, and these are not straight lines, so that there's this conscious practicing of maintaining an intended path. And this, of course, comes in really handy for agility when you're also trying to stay on your intended path while keeping an eye on your dog and the obstacles. So this is a really beneficial skill for handlers to be able to move along an intended path without looking at where they're going, doing the exact thing you learn for agility, which is keeping an eye on your dog, keeping an eye on the obstacles, and knowing where you are in space. So those are some really immediate benefits that come to mind. And for those people interested in circle work, once you start adding speed, it becomes even more beneficial for agility, because keeping an eye on your dog, keeping it on the X-Pen or other props is definitely a skill that you will improve on if you go through all the different steps of this channel healing class. I know I did. Prior, I didn't realize just how terrible I was at running with my dog. But once I practiced it with the X-Pens, I became quite proficient at it. So there's all this great benefit you're going to get. You're going to get a dog that understands heel position, knows how to stay in it through transitions, speed transitions and such. You're going to be a better handler. Your ability to maintain a consistent path, that's all going to be there. But for me, the more important, perhaps, component is the deepening of the connection between the dog and handlers that I saw with 17 new dog trainers and their pet dogs. That if a handler can provide the dog with really clear, concise feedback, the dog receives that clear communication and then provides the handler with clear, concise feedback going, yes, this is what you want. And it develops a deeper connection. The dog offering focus, so the handler doesn't have to fight for focus. And we're talking pet dogs in agility fields for their first time. They went from the typical noses on the ground, staring at the environment, to being able to stay engaged with their handlers in 1 week of the homework assignments that became the first step of this program. And incidentally, one thing about if there are instructors listening, and you have an opportunity to teach new dog trainers with pet dogs, I highly recommend it. That you will learn so much about what we think of as the first step for experienced dog trainers is not the first step for new dog trainers. There are many step zeros. And by working with 17 teams with different breeds of dog, different ages, and different ages of people too, I realized how many step zeros there are, and if you can slice things down into the smallest, tiniest slices, that new dog trainers can pick up skills, and I mean, it's like splitting to the nth degree. That not only is it great for the new dog trainers, but it's given me a way to communicate to experienced dog trainers, ways to crispen up their mechanics such that their dogs will get clear, more concise, better timed information from the handler. So I'd like to end with, for those of you who know me, you know that I'm an accomplished artist. I've had exhibitions in countries all across the globe, and that my work is new and innovative. And yet, I remember when I first started making my thread spool works, that people would say, "Oh, that's just pointillism. That's just that." And I feel like there's a bit of that with human tendency is to categorize. Like we see something, we want to put it into a category of something that we already know. So thread spools as pixels, right? Yeah, you could say, yes, oh, that's just pointillism. And I feel the same thing about the channel healing course, which would be, oh, that's just healing with my dog in a hallway. Or with the mark training, oh, that's just perch work. And I totally get where people are coming from with that. But the one thing that my artwork and this new healing method and how I approach mark training, what they all have in common is there's an experiential component that you have to experience to know what it is. You have to experience this deeper connection you feel with your dog, or the increased joy from the clarity your dog's receiving. And until you've experienced it, there's no way to describe it other than to say, hey, check it out for yourself and see what you see. So I hope I've explained where I'm coming from and what makes channel healing new. And I guess I should finish by saying, if you have a dog that heels beautifully, doesn't pull on a leash, you can, walks like casually into the ring of whatever sport you're doing, and, calmly. If everything is going fantastic with your dog, don't sign up for the healing course. But if there's any aspect of heel position or connection while moving together that you would like to see improvement in, then this healing course, you're going to learn little nuances that are going to transform your relationship with your dog while moving. And I really do see this channel healing method is to moving heel position what platform training is to stationary position. So it just provides clarity, and you really won't know what clarity it will provide for you and your dog until you do it. And the step-by-step program will teach your dog everything she needs to know about transitions, speed transitions, directional transitions, so that when you remove the props, heeling in a straight line is kind of like something you get for free, and heeling around circles and figure eights and whatever you want, that your dog will have the skills. She'll know how to do it, and she'll want to do it because she's had such clarity about that's the thing you're doing together. So that really is it now. And feel free to ask more questions, because there's nothing like questions to provide opportunities to talk about answers.